Welcome back to the channel, everybody. How you doing? I just want to say I appreciate you guys being here. Do something kind of fun. I've been talking about this a while on my YouTube channel about just like doing more like writing videos on this because I am a writer, but I'm also a reader. So I kind of want to do a little more writing stuff in here. So today we are going to talk about authors who shaped me as a writer. I have a couple on here, and a lot of them are newer ones, and then I got some older ones, and I'm going to talk about each one of them, and some of them will have a little bit of the likeness of others, but I just want to talk about it. I just feel like it's fun to talk about the authors who I really like and who has really shaped me to become a writer and helped me write some of my books I've struggled with before compared to like now too. It's really weird and fun to look back at just some like the Battle of Evermore versus like this new secret project I'm working on. Just the writing tones, just how I shaped myself as a better writer. And these are the authors that help. Now, I'm not going to put like Tolkien on here because Tolkien himself is a really great writer, but it's more of Lord of the Rings has shaped me as a better writer. Now, I might do a video of like books that helped inspire me as a better writer. I think that'd be really fun. Lord of the Rings would definitely be on there, but Tolkien himself is not because I've only read Lord of the Rings. A lot of these authors, either A, I read only one series from them, or I read multiple books from them. And that's kind of where I want to go. I could put Tolkien on here. I could put like Robert Jordan, but I'm not. I would rather do a series than just those authors because I've never read any other works from them. So I kind of want to do that. Number one on the list is pretty simple. This is a guy that got me into reading adult books because before him, I was reading young YA books that I will talk about in the future. I really want to talk about like my favorite YA novels of all time, but we will do that in the future. But right now we are going to talk about Stephen King. Now, my mom bought me It by Stephen King, which, because I told her I was like 21, 22, and I was like, Mom, I want to read Stephen King. So she bought me a first edition It, which was crazy at the time because truly I didn't know. She didn't even know. She just found it and bought it for me. I've cherished that book since, and I have it somewhere on my shelf over here, but I do have that book, and I've read it twice now, and because of Stephen King, he truly is the reason why I got into writing. And I don't read Stephen King anymore because I think it's because early on I read too much Stephen King, and now it's like I look at his books. I probably read half of his collection of books, but I have not read other ones, and I'm like slowly doing like a reread of his books. But yes, I just haven't read all of them yet, and Stephen King is the reason, and he is the one that truly got me into writing. Character-wise, he didn't really do that much for me personally, and I think he does a really good job writing characters, but he himself is just what got me into. There's no other way around it. Has his characters helped a little bit? Yes, of course, but in general though, just reading his books made me think, could I do this? Could I seriously do it? So then I decided to write Newtown, which is kind of like a huge inspiration from Stephen King to do this book. I wrote this book right after I read It. I read It, and then I read Salem's Lot. And Salem's Lot, it's definitely inspired from Salem's Lot, but it's a lot shorter because we just trimmed a lot of things down, which I regret doing, but that's for another video. But yes, so Stephen King definitely helped me really shape into the writer I am today. Next on this list is someone who actually is just like Stephen King in ways, but I think he's better at certain parts for writing compared to King. Like, King has really good elements of being a really good writer, but this author also does, and that is Dean Koontz. My mom's a huge Dean Koontz fan, and I did not start reading Dean Koontz until I was like 23, 24, and I only had a couple of his books from my mom, and then when I moved away, my mom moved out of the state, she gave me all of her books of Dean Koontz. So that's why I was like, I'm gonna start reading more of him. And this man can really write. I think one of my favorite parts about how Dean Koontz can write is he really can write the impactful of a thriller. And to me, that's what helped me shape with parts of my books, of just that fast-paced, tense scenes that you really want. He is so good at that, and I just love it. I love it so much that I just cannot stop reading his books. Every time I read one of his books, I'm just like, yeah, this man can cook. And I really like how he does elements, which has helped me a lot, where it's almost telling me it's okay to make shorter chapters and have multiple chapters in your book instead of doing like 20 chapters and each of them are like 20, 25 pages long. Instead, do 60 chapters, each of them 5 or 10 pages long. Because of that, Dean Koontz has really influenced me into doing that element of writing, and I do test it out. All my books, I try to change and do different elements of each one of my books, and I really do enjoy that part with what Dean Koontz has taught me. Next on this list, I only have 2 female authors on here. Do I want to read more female authors? Yeah, but it's not like I go on my way to be like, I only read men. No, I want to read everyone, but you know, I'm a guy, so I'm going to gravitate towards more male authors, which is just normal. But I do think male writers should read female authors just so you can get to knowledge of writing through different POVs. And this part is my favorite author that is a woman is Emily Henry. Because of Emily Henry, she has the only thing that I think she really has helped me, truly helped me as a writer, is writing the romantic parts. Writing women better is how I should say of how Emily writes romance, and she makes everyone feel very human, especially women in just relationships in general. She makes it feel very human, and I really do gravitate towards that. Like my fantasy series, I really gravitated towards making sure the women and the men in here that have relationships are human, feel very realistic. And then in my future books I have drafts of, because of her writing of romance, it has influenced me and helped me write characters to feel like a real relationship, that these guys really do love each other and they are going to willing to do anything to be together. So it's one of those elements that I think Emily Henry has definitely helped me out a lot. Next on this list is another fantasy author. I have two more fantasy authors, and then the bottom three are more trauma based and a little bit of like the horror section. But the next two on here, I'm going to kind of put them together. Is the first one's Tad Williams. He wrote Memory, Sorrows, and Thorn. So because of that, I achieved book 3 of my series that's coming out. He uses some of those words. I'm going to make a video of announcing the third book coming out. That's for a couple weeks from now. With that being said, Tad Williams, actually the way that he writes, it is a very Lord of the Rings-esque feel. And that's why when I made this, I was like, oh, maybe I should add Tolkien to it. Maybe I should add Robert Jordan, because Tad Williams kind of fits in that meld with those two as well. But I think Tad Williams goes a little darker route on his writing, and he makes sure that every single thing is written so well that you don't want to leave out any details of certain characters, themes, or anything. And I really like that element, and that's what kind of influenced me with my fantasy series, that Tad Williams has definitely helped. The fighting part, the action part, Tad Williams didn't do, but it's the outside. It's building this world, making you feel like this is real, is from Tad Williams. And with that being said, Jim Butcher, the guy who wrote The Dresden Files and many other books I have not read yet, but I'm a big fan of The Dresden Files because of Jim Butcher. The Dresden Files has also helped, but The Dresden Files has helped in a different way. How magic is created in fantasy is how everyone does fantasy a little. I mean, magic systems are always a little different. You can do soft magic, you can do hard magic. Regardless, I try to be more in the middle. I like to describe what magic is, but I also want to keep it so it's not everything. Not everyone can do it, or it's too complicated where even I don't understand it, or it's used for everything, every purpose. And I feel like Jim Butcher really opened my eyes to how you can limit and make magic cool, but also keep it limited so it's not overpowered. And I think because of him doing that and showing me while I read the Dresden Files, it put influence of my fantasy series of how I portray doing magic and how I explain how magic works. My magic works by emotions, and it's all centered in your stomach. Yes, people are like, oh, so it's like a gut magic. No, because you feel it in your stomach. Your stomach twists and turns because of it's deep in your soul of how magic works. It's an emotion. Every character or every race, so you have werewolves that have different magic systems. You have vampires that use different magic. Witches use different magic. Fairies use different magic. But they're all based on their own emotions. Like witches, for example, are based off of rage, anger, passion, like that. But then you have the fairies where it's based off of love, compassion. When they don't feel those kind of things, when they don't remember those things, they cannot use their magic. So because of that, Jim Butcher really influenced me into using that kind of magic system. And I really am thankful that I read the Dresden Files because of those reasons. And now I'm rereading them and I just feel my influences coming right back. So it's really fun to read those elements. Like I said, the next 3 on this are more trauma, the horrific parts of my writing influence. And you guys are probably not going to see it in my book series, but in the future, you probably will see a lot more of these 3 implemented in my future books. So we're going to talk about Clive Barker first. Clive Barker, I've said plenty of times in this channel, the way that he can write is beautiful. I think he is easily one of my favorite writers of all time. Clearly, holy crap, this man can write. But what he can write the best at is the horror parts. The element of just gross body horror, he is the reason why when I have wrote some of my future books already, I try to keep, my goal is to try and write something as horrific as what he does, like, especially if it matters for the story. I try my hardest to do that. And the way that he does it, oh, it's so gross, but I love it. And that's what I'm trying to do with my own books, because I want to be influenced like that. I want to write my books like that. I want people to be like, I want to read a review where someone's like, dang, that was a pretty messed up scene in chapter 13 or whatever. I want those elements in there. So when I do write something that's horror or a darker fantasy or just something like that, I want it to be like, hey, Clive Barker's the reason why I wrote this. That's why. Now the next two are kind of on the same category. You have V.C. Andrews and Cormac McCarthy. Cormac McCarthy, my best thing I'm going to explain with him, don't get me wrong, he is an amazing writer. People say he's probably the best American writer of all time, which it's hard to argue that because he's freaking great. But because of him, this is going to sound so weird too, but he really gave me, especially on standalones, themes. That's all I'm going to say. Because of him, I have wrote a couple books now that are just based off of themes. You have characters in it, but the theme of the book is what's going to keep going. And then you build characters around that theme. And there's a lot of books I have that it fits that so well, and it molds it to the point where it's like, wow, this is really fun. And when you make that theme of the book just so grounded, it just makes everything else better. And now I'm going to add V.C. Andrews. There's a book that I am writing that I don't really have a cool secret project name for it. It's something that definitely is influenced by Cormac McCarthy and V.C. Andrews. V.C. Andrews knows how to write trauma and revenge. It's kind of insane of how much she can write trauma and make it like impactful and make you feel for these kind of characters. And that's what she did in her books that I'm still reading. Like, these are some of these authors that I'm still reading. Like, I've only read like 4 of their books, but just because of how they influenced me writing my current books right now, I'm like, I have to talk about them. Now, V.C. Andrews, so you got the theme of Cormac, and then you put the trauma part of how V.C. Andrews writes trauma and mix in a bowl, and you have some beautiful writing that I just blows my mind, and I want to try and mix those into my own writing, but still make it my own. And that's just kind of what I think about when I'm writing my own novels. It's just like, holy crap. it's so poetic in a way, and I really do enjoy it. If you guys made it to the end of the video, I do appreciate it. What do you guys think about my authors who helped shape me as a writer? Have you read any of these awesome authors, or have you not? If you have, let me know down below. And if you're a writer yourself, let me know who helped shape you into writing, or just what authors have inspired you to do whatever. I would love to know down below. Of course, make sure you guys stay safe, stay humble, and tell someone you love them. I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay weird.